Nice. Jeez. That's not the sign that you want to see, is it, on your bike? Supermotos in the winter, so my channel's been all about, can you supermoto this, supermoto that, so let's continue. Because I guess people are still curious about supermoto. It's been quite a big thing with the last few years, with the 701 and the 690 being out for a number of years now, and of course we've got the Ducati supermoto coming out next year, so there will be a lot of people thinking about buying one, and so I'd like to sort of share my experience of what it's like riding one in, you know, normal everyday conditions, and even in winter in this case. So main things to note, I would say, on this bike in particular, the throttle is not the smoothest. Like, trying to apply the throttle smoothly in low speed situations is a challenge. Thankfully the clutch is really light, so, and you will spend a lot of time feathering the clutch, so it's a good job it's light, because you're going to need it in these low speed slippery conditions. You can't just be applying the gas, because it's gonna, I've had it happen to me when I least expect it. I just gently sort of put the throttle on and the back end steps out. Even with the traction control, it's still, it scares you a bit. Unless you're you know, a riding god and you can just swing your tail end around like nobody's business, it's one to be mindful of. They do get a bit tail happy quite easily, and because it's such a light bike, I think these bikes weigh about 160 kilos wet, and that is not much at all for a powerful road bike to be weighing. So yeah, there's not a lot of weight pushing down on that back wheel to give you that traction on the rear, so you have got to be careful about spinning up the rear, more so than on other bikes I found. I mean, I've been riding fucking hell, lethal this is. Need to focus for a sec. I've been riding a Triumph Bonneville around, and it's such a heavy beast compared to this. Like, everything about it, just riding it, it just feels so sure-footed in comparison to this. Oh my word. I haven't ridden in town for a while, I'm a bit rusty. But yeah, you can just sort of lean on that bike, I mean literally and metaphorically, and know that you're going to be okay. Because it has just got so much weight pushing those tyres into the floor. As long as you're not an idiot, it's not going to break traction on you as easily as this. So that's number one thing, rear traction. That would also be cured, well, not cured, but helped with a different choice of tyre. The standard tyres on the 701 and the 690, I believe, are Continental Conti Attack SMs. There you go, someone on his bike. And they are stickier than shit on a blanket when conditions are good and dry and warm. But in the cold, they just do not perform very well. There's not much feel, and they spin up really easily. And I think because they're a single compound throughout, you tend to wear down the middle of them as well when you do end up spending all your time upright, because you can't really lean over that far in this stuff. Yeah, tyre choice definitely help. I think Dunlop Mutant would be your best, most easy to obtain and best bet. There's a company called Hedenau as well. They do some really good supermoto tyres, winter and summer. But they're a German brand, and you don't really get them much in the UK, so they'd be a bit of a pain to source. Get some Dunlop Mutants on here and you'd be away, because they're easy to source and they would work on this kind of bike, I think. Other things to note about winter riding on the supermoto: good at filtering still, although that's not really a weather dependent thing. God, well, that was a weird fucking thing. You can see now I'm in town. I'm trying to sort of chug along in third, and the bike's hesitating a lot. Quite annoying. Not necessarily that dangerous, but definitely annoying. If you can afford it, if you have the means, and you have a company nearby that will do it for you, definitely get a remap, because it will just help you so much in these low speed situations. Like here, I wouldn't dare to open the throttle wide there. Well, not wide open, but you know what I mean. Like, ideally with a remap I could just get around in that situation with just the gas, but as it stands I have to feather the throttle basically until I'm upright again, because I don't trust the bike to not hesitate and break traction, you know. It's funny, when I've been riding this bike around in these wintry conditions, I'll get a lot of people say, oh yeah, that's the bike you want for that, because it looks like a dirt bike, so people think, when the roads are covered in shit, this is exactly what you want. Which is partly true, but I think it's also a bit misleading, because being a dirt bike shaped riding position, it is a lot easier to control when you do break traction. If you've ever ridden a dirt bike, you'll be familiar with how the bike is going to feel when the traction does break. And you do have a lot of control through the pegs and of course the wide handlebars. It's an easy sort of bike to ride in terms of geometry. It is perfectly set up for this, but as I said before, because it is so light and it's got these sticky sort of track inspired road tyres on it, it's actually not that great when the roads are covered in shit. Tyre choice and a remap, I think you'd be better off, but I think still being such a light bike, it does, and with a lot of power, it's like a 125 is okay, because you're going to struggle to make that spin up at the rear, although I have managed it on my Monkey. Yeah, other things, wind protection, non-existent really, so get used to wind blast. But I mean, naked bikes are the flavour, and they have been the flavour for a few years now, so it's probably not unusual to a lot of people to be dealing with wind blast. One thing I will say though, handguards are really good at keeping the wind off your hands, as you'd probably suspect. You know, it's 4 or 5 degrees and I'm wearing ventilated summer short gloves, and my fingers are chilly, but it's not affecting me, you know, my concentration or anything. Handguards are a good one for winter. Another plus, we'll add another one in the plus column, is the elevated riding position. So good to be able to see over the top of cars. Filtering in traffic through town, you just feel like you have such a better idea of what's going on. That's not necessarily a winter thing either, but anything that gives you more time for forward planning is always a plus. One nice thing about the modern supermoto is you do have traction control and ABS, which is always a nice safety net to have just in the background, just in case you misjudge it, you know. I'm not the kind of person that triggers these things for fun, but just knowing it's there in the background is reassuring, especially when the roads are like this. It's just peace of mind, you know. And you know, for me personally, a bike like this is probably the most expensive thing I own apart from my house. Knowing that there's some technology there that might stop me from wrecking it, I like that. So if you are thinking of going to supermoto and you're planning on riding year round, that's definitely going to be a tick, you know. Even if you think bikes don't need that stuff, it's not intrusive. The systems are so much better than when they first came out. I've never felt like it's got in the way of riding enjoyment, and yeah, knowing it's there is such a big plus. Supermotos as a winter bike, definitely doable, definitely not the worst choice, probably not the best either, but it's a good, solid choice. And because they are also, you know, there's an enduro model that goes alongside this, so it's a bike that's been designed with getting muddy in mind. The only differences between this and the enduro model are the wheels and a few other small bits. You can feel confident that, you know, it can get dirty and you can wash it and it's still going to start up the next day, hopefully. I haven't had it long enough to say on reliability, but you would think that helps, you know. It's not like riding around on a chromed out sort of cruiser like that Bonneville that I ride. It's got chrome wheels, chrome handlebars, chrome exhausts. You just feel kind of guilty when you get off it and turn back and it's covered in shit. Whereas this, you look at it covered in mud and you think, yeah, someone's had fun on that. It's being used for what it was made for, to be enjoyed, to get dirty, to have some fun. So it is good in that respect. And they're good on fuel. Again, this is supposed to be focusing on winter practicality, but I guess this is turning into supermoto practicalities in general. So good on fuel. I think it gets something like 50 mpg, probably more. That's one of the benefits of having a single, is they do tend to be better on fuel. Whoa, where are you going? I hate when cars start moving when you haven't gone past it. It's like, hang on, have you seen me or not? So in summary, let's do for and against supermotos in winter. For. What? Is there any for? I don't think a for and against is helpful. It's just things to be mindful of if you're going to get a supermoto and you think maybe I'll ride it in winter. Proper tyres. Try not to spin up the back end because it is light and a powerful bike. You've got to be careful. Get it remapped if you can. That will make your low speed throttle control a lot more predictable and less stressful. Raised riding position and hand guards, very good. It doesn't mind getting dirty, and if you ride in winter you'll know that getting dirty is just a part of it. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good summary of what you want to be mindful of if you do want to ride one of these in winter. Hopefully that's helpful for any of you considering this bike or a supermoto in general. And we'll just have to wait and see what that Ducati's like, whether that might be a good option as well. That's sneaky, that is, isn't it? Thumbs up from the man.